Welcome back. This is a quick tutorial on BT09, which is the sonic cleanup project. We're going to be talking about how to record with Audacity, how to load the file that you record in Audacity into Edison, how to remove unwanted noise from that sound file, how to normalize it to make it to where you can hear the sound file very clearly, and lastly, how to EQ the sound so that way you can only get the frequencies that you want to come out and you leave all the stuff that you don't want behind. Alright, let's get into it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into Audacity and we're going to record our sound file that we're going to use. Typically you would do this on your desktop when you're recording or wherever your studio setup is, but in this case you will also be using your one-to-one devices which already have a microphone set up. When it comes to what device Audacity is using to record, you're going to see it right up here below the transport controls. And you'll see that there's a little option for you to choose which engine type or which driver is going to be used for the recording, and then which device is going to be used. In this case, I'm going to be using the microphone that is currently attached to my computer. And it will also list what your playback is going to be. So right here it's going to be playing out of my speakers and it's going to be recording through my microphone. The only thing that you'll typically have to change in this instance is the recording level of your microphone, and that's only to prevent clipping of any kind. So when you're actually recording, you might want to change the level of your recording, or you can just make sure that you're not clipping in your recording as you do so. What do I mean by clipping? Well, if I press record here, you'll see that it's starting to begin recording my voice, and you can see the waveform right here of the positive and negative symbols or signals of the waveform of my voice. If I talk too closely to the microphone, then you'll start to see something that looks like this, which is basically clipping. And what that means is that the computer is not able to tell where the top and bottom of the signal can be found, and it's just chopping it off, basically. It sounds very unpleasant when it's done. We don't want that kind of thing, but we do want a little bit of noise. So if you're silent for a little while, you'll notice that there's still a little bit of waveform that's shown right here in the recording. So that is what we're going to try to eliminate. Based off of the location of your recording, this noise may be very minor or it could be very bad. It really just depends on the location of where you're doing your recording. After I'm done recording, I can press the stop button and I could press play. You'll see that it's starting to begin recording my voice, and you can see the waveform right here. Alright, so it's recording there. You can select in Audacity, you can click and drag to select an area, just like in Edison, and we can take this and we can apply effects to it, or we can trim it down to where that's just the sound that I want. So in this case, I'm going to make sure that I have a little bit of noise or to gain my original noise threshold from, and that's right here at the beginning of my recording here. If you want, you can go into your effects right here in Audacity, and there's a whole bunch of effects just like what we find in Edison. You'll find that there's a lot of the things that we've been talking about right here that are available in Audacity. So you don't necessarily need FL Studio to do a lot of the audio things that we've been talking about in this class. Most of the time there's going to be tools in whatever kind of audio program that you're working with to really help you out with doing a lot of the things that we've been talking about. However, in this case we're just going to save this and we're going to toss it into FL because that's what we've been working in. So I'm going to export as an MP3 this file right here. You can choose to just have a section, like right now I just want this section right here. I don't want to take all the rest of it. So what I can do is I can go to edit and I can just take out that one section of audio. Or you can export the entire file if you'd like and cut it up into Edison as well. I think that's what I'll do actually. So I'm just going to save and export this entire MP3. I'm going to save it as example. There we go. I'm going to just save it on my desktop so I can find it later. You can change the quality if you want. I typically like to record in the highest quality possible, so go ahead and change the quality to 320 KB. It'll make your sound better, although it would really be best if you saved it as a waveform, because then it will be the best possible sound quality. When you save as an MP3, we talked about this before, it will compress down your waveform to save some space, but it will also sound worse. It'll take out a lot of quality. So I'm going to go ahead and save this as a waveform. You can add in metadata if you want. You can put in who the artist name is or track title, any of that kind of stuff. In this case, this is an example, but if you were going to do this for actual money, or if you wanted to save a database full of sounds that you created, you would probably want to add some metadata in, because then it makes it easier to search for particular sounds. In this case, I'm just going to leave all this blank, press OK, and now it saved that waveform on my desktop as an example, which let me see if I can find it here. Here it's HTML. I'll be able to find it if I just search through here. So I'm going to go into FL now. I'm going to create a new project. It's going to be minimal. I'm going to make it just an empty project. And now I can open up Edison by clicking up here in the top right, where the little scissors and a waveform is. That's how you can open up the audio editor. And here it is. Basically, this is Audacity in FL. It has a few extra things that Audacity doesn't have. I'm going to click on the disk here and load a sample, and from there I can go to my desktop and find that example wave, which is right here. So I'm going to open that up, and here we can see all the waveform. You'll notice that this spot right here where it's clipping, you can see a lot of extra frequency information. Right now I have the view as both the waveform and the spectral analysis, where we can see where the frequencies are played. The low frequencies are here towards the bottom, and the higher frequencies are usually up towards the top. You can see that when it's clipping, the frequencies get all messed up. It looks like the frequencies are all over the place, because the computer kind of freaked out when I tried to talk into it too close. Right now I just want to take this one section of this clip, and I'm going to use that. Actually, I want to use kind of towards the end, because I recorded a section where there's just a noise floor. So let me take just that one section here. If I press play, I have a bunch of noise, and then I have myself speaking. You'll notice that there's still a little bit of waveform that's shown right here in the... Alright, so what I want to do is I want to take that noise floor out. First, I'm going to take my sample right here and I'm going to trim it. So I'll right click and go to Edit and Trim, or you can press Control and Delete. And now my waveform is just that one section. What I want to do is I want to identify the noise, which is right over here, this big empty section right here of recording. So what I'll do is I'm going to click right here on this brush icon. This brush is for audio cleanup, and what we're going to do is I'm going to click on that, and it's going to denoise, or it's going to find a profile for noise. So I'm going to click on Acquire Noise Profile. And usually it's best to do this with just the noise area selected. So I'm going to make it to where I select just the area where that noise is. Then I click on that brush and click on Acquire Noise Profile. And now it knows that this is the noise that is in this recording. It's going to be repeating that noise everywhere. So it's going to take basically this noise profile and subtract it from the rest of the waveform. So now I'm going to press this noise, this brush one more time. And when I do that, I can press Preview, and it will show me a preview. You'll notice that of what it's going to sound like when it's done. And you'll notice basically it's EQing to take out this one section right here. This is where most of the noise is found. The rest of it is just a general removal of those frequencies. So I'll press Accept. And when I do that, you'll see now that the waveform, if I zoom in on this, that noise is basically gone. It's just a straight line now. So it has basically taken out the noise from the recording. It's perfectly silent where it should be perfectly silent. You'll notice that there's still a little bit of... Alright, so now that I've done that, I want to normalize this audio file. So I'm going to select the entire thing, like so. And we have a Normalize button, which looks like this, Normalize Regions. If you click on this, then it will make the waveform stand out more. It'll make the highest peak, which is this one, just touch the top of the waveform, and everything else will be expanded as well, but nothing will be louder than the loudest thing in the waveform, which is right here. What you can also do, if you want, you can use a compressor, which basically limits the dynamic range of a waveform. We haven't talked about compressors yet, but we will. They're very useful for dynamic control, for evening out a sound. However, for this particular project, you don't have to worry about it. Alright, the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to use EQ to try to bring out the sounds that you want. So right now, I can see that my voice is mostly down here in this range of frequency. What we're going to use is use a parametric equalizer to try to bring out those frequencies and take out anything that we don't want. So to do that, I'm going to take this this audio file right here and load it into my playlist. I can either click on this drag button right here to drag the sound file into the playlist, or you can click on, if I delete this, or you can click on this little icon right here, which basically just sends to the playlist as an audio clip. So if I click this, it'll just put the sound right into my playlist. So you can do either one of those. You can drag and drop it, or you can just click on that to drop it into your playlist automatically. So now this is loaded in, and you'll notice that I have it right here on the master channel of my mixer. I might want to just load this to a mixer track, so if I press Control L, it will load it onto an empty channel right here. So that's where I have it. I'm just going to delete this one and delete this one. If I move this over into my playlist, you'll see that it loads it up in here, and I'll take that and load it as an audio track. So I still have my other tracks here. They're not really going to do anything at this point. It's just this one that we're working with. So if I press play in the song form, then you should see the audio run through here. You'll notice that there's still a little bit of wait. Alright, perfect. So the last thing that I want to do is load a parametric EQ on here. And let's see what it looks like. Right now, my parametric EQ, all the low frequencies, once again, are on the left over here. All the high frequencies are on the right. The voice is mostly around here. Let's see where it is in my particular case. You'll notice that there's still a little bit of waveform that's shown like it's over right here in the... So what I can do is I can lower down, put a low pass or a low cut filter on the sections where my voice isn't recording. So and you'll notice if you play around with the frequencies, that based off of the location of your recording, this noise may be very minor or it could be very bad. It really just depends on the location of where you're doing your recording. So really this is up to you to decide what sounds best to your ear. You can take out certain frequencies or add some different frequencies. Usually you want to just take out frequencies to make it to where you don't color the sound, unless you're trying to achieve a certain colored sound effect. In this case though, I'm just trying to make my voice sound as good as possible without having any kind of disturbing, irritating sounds. So I can just EQ it until my ears are happy with it. You'll notice that there's still a little bit of waveform that's shown right here in the recording. So that is what we're going to try to eliminate. That based off of the location of your recording, this noise may be very minor or it could be very bad. Alright. So there we go. I did a little bit of a roll-off for some of the high frequencies. In particular, this region right here, whenever I make S sounds, this microphone picks up those S sounds very clearly. So I wanted to take some of those S's out. There's a tool called a de-esser, which kind of helps with this. But another way that you can kind of mitigate this is simply by EQing, seeing where that range of when you say an S, where those frequencies are, and just trying to lower those particular frequencies. It really just depends on the location of where you're doing your recording. So you'll notice when I say S's, it lights up a lot right here in this region. You'll notice that there's still a little bit of waveform that's shown right here in the recording. So that is what we're going to try to eliminate. So there we go. I've put a little bit of a parametric equalizer on my voice to make it sound a little bit better. I did some normalization to make it to where a lot of the lower frequencies or a lot of the softer waveforms were kind of brought out. And and of course I took the noise out at the very beginning to make it to where I cleaned up the recording as much as possible. And if we were to use this in another multimedia project, it wouldn't have that noise floor and it would work pretty well. So now you know how to use the noise reduction machine, Denoiser. You learned how to normalize, and you learned how to use the parametric EQ to make a voice sound a little bit better. Usually you want to roll off the really low frequencies unless you like the rumble of somebody's voice. If you're trying to record James Earl Jones doing Darth Vader's voice, you might want to have more of the low frequencies here. But it depends upon what you're putting your voice over. If you're trying to put your voice over some beats or some bass lines or something like that, you don't want the voice to compete with the bass. You want them to have their own different ranges. So you want to make sure that everything has its own little place and its own specialty in the frequency spectrum. After we're all done with this, we're going to go to File and Export. You want to make sure that you export as both an MP3. I'm going to save to my desktop. You want it to save as both an MP3 and an FLAC file. And you want to render out to the highest quality of MP3 bitrate. And the flat compression, that doesn't matter quite so much. You could probably leave that at its basic. You can see what its quality is and everything. Just press start and it will render out your project as both a FLAC and an MP3. And lastly, make sure that you record a video of your project so I can see what you did with your parametric equalizer. That's really what I want to see in this project. Alright, I hope you have a fun time messing around with some sounds. I'm eager to see what you come up with.